Welcome to the Liberator Method Class 3, Declaring What You Want. My name is Rhonda Christensen. I address the principles and perspective of my method in Class 1. Specifically, I defined the perspective I ask you to view yourself from as you move ahead and master the tools of the Liberator Method. By now, I hope you've memorized this perspective. I am a divine being having a human experience. My fundamental nature is unconditional love and creative power. My purpose is to come to know myself as thyself. I am becoming consciously aware of my divinity. In Class 2, I explained the importance of word accuracy and defined tools to assist you, an emerging conscious creator, to empower your language. I explained that your words create and sustain your experience. As in Class 1, I encourage you to declare and memorize this principle. My words create and sustain my experience. As I choose to become aware of my word choice and choose to be accountable to my words, I halt the cycle of being compelled. I open the space for conscious, intentional experience to manifest. Observing the details of your desires, without judgment, whatever they may be, is an evolutionary process of awakening to the deeper calling of your heart. Many describe this calling as the heart's desire. As you intentionally move forward in this quest, you are crossing the threshold of the dynamic and rewarding process of self-discovery. You will come to see that you can trust attention to your desires will lead you to your heart's calling, even if at first you judge your desires to be wrong, inappropriate, or counterproductive to what you think or expect you should want. There's an important clarification I'd like to make here. Remaining present to and giving your full attention to your desires does not necessarily mean it is wise to act upon them. Your desires are messages. Clarifying the specifics of the message the desire is presenting to you before you choose to act will save you energy, heartache, and time. I will address this further in a moment. Lynn Christian stated, "If you are not following your heart, you're living someone else's dream." The first step that will bring you closer to your heart's calling is to define the desire you are authentically experiencing. By define, I mean to describe the meaning and the essential qualities of the desire that is present within you. Once you have defined your desire, you have set your intentional, evolutionary process in motion. You've opened yourself to experiences that will serve as opportunities to assist you in refining any facets of the original definition that need further clarification. By refining your desire, I mean to bring the declaration of your desire to a finer state or form. By purifying and clarifying the accuracy of your word, you will be making fine distinctions in the language of communicating what you say you want. Once you have refined your desire and your ability to communicate it in words, you will begin to hear the more subtle call that has been there all along, your heart's calling. When I speak of your heart's calling, I am referring to the deeper desire, the core desire that is constantly seeking to express itself through you. Your heart's desire is the language of your soul, calling you to awaken to your purpose. Recall that your purpose is to know thyself. Your heart's desire is always in alignment with your core values. Your heart's calling is trustworthy. What you really want is often different than what you think you want in the moment. You may find that what you truly value at core looks fundamentally different than what you were taught to value. What you think you want is driven by your head, not your heart. What you think you want is driven by ego identification and learned patterns. This brings me back to the point I made earlier. In service of energy efficiency, I encourage you to clarify the specifics of the message the desire is presenting to you before you choose to act. The act of intentionally sustaining and observing your desire with the intention to hear its deepest call in service of the highest good gives your mind time to become aware of and connect with your heart. The voice of the ego alone can be very convincing, but it always contains a kernel of unaware deception enmeshed with the truth. Many perceive the ego desire and heart's desire as separate, oppositional forces. I see them as differentiated in form, but essentially united in purpose. Personally, I've discovered that by listening, observing, and remaining present to both the tone of voice and the words of the desire, without judging its message as necessarily wrong, I can master the process of deciphering its message to me. The tone and the words of the voice of the ego reveal and awaken me to my irrational thinking, my judgments, and my misperceptions of reality, enabling me to consciously release them. It is a process of defining and refining my perceived desire. As a sculptor works with his stone to bring out the emerging form, eventually liberating my core desire in its pure, uncontaminated state. Beyond observing the tone of voice and the words of my perceived desire, one of the most helpful resources I use to further clarify the calling of my heart is a chart I found years ago in the book The Joy Diet by Martha Beck. I've adapted her elegant chart in alignment with the perspective of the Liberator method and placed it on the slide you see before you. There are 2 columns. These columns list the defining symptoms or signs of unrefined desire as compared to those of refined desire, or your true heart's calling. To achieve increased clarity and definition, I bring the desire I am experiencing to my awareness and apply my experience to each variable you see before you. As I move down the list, applying each element to my desire, if my experience lands in the unrefined desire column, I know I am being driven by underlying competing intentions. Intentions that are driven by fear, subconscious judgments, or misperceptions of reality. I encourage you to pause this presentation for just a moment and look at the distinctions between the 2 columns. Michelangelo said, "Every block of stone has a statue inside it, and it is the task of the sculptor to discover it." Such is the task of releasing the true refined form of your heart's calling. The soul sculpting process begins with an experience of awakening. Just as the experience of awakening from sleep, the awakening can be experienced as slow and subtle, or sudden and jarring. Either way, you begin to awaken to a desire that has a life of its own stirring deep within you. A desire that will get louder and louder if its needs are unattended to. This process moves through 4 stages. Stages that give you the opportunity to utilize your empowering language skills taught in Class 2. The first step is to identify and clearly state what it is that you don't want. By doing so, you separate the undesired variables from the desired variables. Next, you rephrase your original statement, substituting the variables you do want. It's a common trap to fall into the habit of focusing on what you don't want, which will leave you entrenched in a state of powerlessness. You empower yourself by shifting your focus to your actual desire. However, the experience at this second stage is still one of lack, one of wanting. The third step, the simple act of replacing the phrase "I want" with the phrase "I intend," transforms your statement of desire into a declaration of determination. This step sharply focuses your attention, your mind, and your will on your goal. The final step is to state your declaration as an "I am" statement, a statement of intention declared as if you have already wholly manifested it. This is accomplished by replacing the phrase I intend with the phrase I am, and then eliminating all negatives in the sentence. The final declaration should give you a sense of the experience that you are seeking. Also, remain open to the evolution and refinement of this statement. Your declaration will evolve in alignment with your evolving consciousness. This final I am statement can be experienced as uncomfortable at first, and even blatantly false. Remember, your I am statement is a statement of intention, stated as if it has already manifested. Your declaration will invite unresolved, competing issues to surface. However, by affirming your I am statement daily, even several times during the day, you remind, refocus, empower, and encourage yourself, body, mind, and spirit, to engage in committed action that will move you forward toward your goal. Let's run through this with an example. Imagine your complaint is the enduring experience of feeling upset and frustrated. You begin with the statement of your experience that identifies what you don't want. For instance, I don't want to feel so upset all the time. I feel frustrated and upset by so many things during the day. The second step is to identify the experience you are seeking. I want to let go of the experience of constant upset and frustration. I want to experience peace in my life. I want to experience a lot more peace, and I want to develop a sense of inner calm. The third step is to state this desire in the form of an intention. I intend to let go of the experience of upset and frustration. I intend to be peaceful and calm. And finally, you state the intention using the words I am to express the experience as if you were already embodying it. In this case, I am releasing myself. I am peaceful and calm. Once you've developed your I am statement, I recommend you memorize it and state it every day. Michelangelo also stated, "A beautiful thing never gives so much pain as does failing to hear and see it." Such is the case with an unheard heart's desire. Your heart's calling will eventually compel you to notice it and oblige you to consciously realign yourself with it. Like the laws of nature, we learn to define our heart's desire by observation and experimentation. Our heart's calling is our law of nature. You don't choose to obey it. You simply discover it and joyfully surrender to what already is. I encourage us all to listen and begin the intentional process of hearing, defining, and attending to the desires within you, to bring forth and discover the call within your own heart.